I was at a seance one time, and you talk about being like overwhelmed with like hot, and I mean a lot of times spirit activity will make you feel cold or it'll make you feel hot. Sometimes it makes you feel tingly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had times where I feel like my body is like one big goosebump. But I was at a seance one time, and I'd been doing the seance with another psychic medium, and I very rarely, when I would do them as being the psychic medium doing them, I'd very rarely get anything for myself. But periodically, it would happen. And this one night, it was a very small group, and I could feel this man coming up behind me, and the closer he got to me, the hotter I felt. I mean, I felt like my face was bright, bright red. It felt like my whole body was bright, bright red. I felt like I was like, 200 degrees, and I'm like, oh my God. And it was such a strange feeling that I finally looked at the other woman that was doing it with me, and I said, what are you picking up? Because this is really driving me nuts. I said, I feel like I'm getting all this anger from this man, and I said, I feel like I'm going to just combust. Like I'm just going to, I'm going to poof, and I'm going to be this ball of fire. And it was my husband's uncle who had passed away like several years before. And I guess his uncle had talked to him about, if you can do this with your life, if you can do that with your life, you have all these potentials, all these opportunities. And then, the uncle passed away, and so what had happened was my husband had not done that. He had done some of it, but he hadn't lived up to the potential that this uncle felt that he had. And what I will say in my husband's defense at that point was that he decided to take other avenues. But his uncle was very stubborn. And it was like, well, he didn't do what I wanted him to do. And so he got like, his uncle was like really mad, and he just was like right there. He was like almost inside of me. And it was finally like, okay, you gotta go, because I don't think I want to burst into flames. I don't want, who was it, Jerry Lee Lewis singing, Great Balls of Fire at my funeral because I burst into flames. And it was just like, it was incredible. So you can get that reaction, that cold or that heat or that tingling or almost numbness or that fear. And, and it's like, but you were probably surrounded by them. It was probably not only one, you probably were surrounded by them. It was almost like, did you feel almost at times like you couldn't breathe? Or that there was something with your, yeah. They do that sometimes.
It was that feeling like if I cover up with the blankets, it was like the blanket was a protection thing, but I was so hot that I wanted to take the blanket off. The girl that lived there stayed in the same bed with me. She fell asleep fine.
Yeah.
Later that day, her mother told me that there's actually a guy that stands at the door. And she said that that's why she has 2 fans, because he's always at the door. And I was like, well, I really didn't feel welcome at all.
Yeah. Well, and it's sometimes if an entity or a group of entities is used to a certain energy, and then somebody else comes into that energy, they'll be like, excuse me, who are you? And guess what? We really don't want you here because you don't belong here. And even if you say, I'm friends with her, they don't care. They don't care. I mean, like at our house, it's Grand Central Station. I mean, you've got his relatives, my relatives, and people that have just followed us home and said, oh, this is really a good place to live. And it's like, okay, it's Grand Central Station for ghosts. But a number of years ago, my ex-husband and I took a trip, and we asked his sister to stay at our house because we had animals and everything else. And so it was like, oh, sure, I'll stay for you. She was gone before we got home. We called and told her, and she said, well, if I'm not there, she said, I'll make sure all the animals are fed. But I've got things to do. So about, 6 months later, we never talked with her about it. And we kind of called her up again and we were like, hey, do you think maybe you could watch the house? And when do you want me to watch the house? This weekend. you know, whatever weekend it was. I'm busy. It wasn't until about a year later that my husband was talking with her, and she looked at him and she said, I am never, ever staying in that house again alone. They're like, what are you talking about? Well, they didn't like her energy, I guess. And so what would happen is they'd go up and down the stairs. They'd make noises. She could hear conversations in other rooms.
Yeah.
And I mean, my grandfather was 6'2", and he had a very heavy step. My grandmother was about 5 foot, and he had a much lighter step. So when my grandfather's around, he steps heavy. And I always know it's him. It's, you can hear clomp, 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 clomp. It's like, hey, Gramps. But I guess he was doing that to her.
It's like Walter. Walter's like, you can always tell when it's him up here because he's real clumsy.
Yeah.
Like really clumsy. Like it sounds like somebody's literally like drunk trying to walk around here.
Yeah.
Seriously. That's how it's been the last even few days. I thought my sister was home yesterday because I could hear, and she's like that. She's like stomp here, step here, drop this type of person. So I assumed it was her, but then when my mom said Melody wasn't even here, I'm like, what the heck's he doing?
And it's just, you know, and sometimes we don't know why they did that. You know, why, were they clumsy? Were they drunks? Sorry, Walter, I know you weren't a drunk. I'm just saying that for conversation, okay? I'm not saying you were. But, you know, it's like, they'll do that for whatever reason. It might have been a physical thing, you know. Might have been like me, you can't walk and chew gum at the same time.
I think if I had to like, well, first of all, like when my mom was telling me when you guys came last time that you felt like there was a fire, I had known that my entire life, and I've always told everybody that, like, no, there was a fire here, and these kids got hurt, and the only thing I'm not sure about was like who really did it, because there's the one that runs across the stairs in like the coat thing, and I don't think it's Walter or whatever, but. As far as Walter, like, being clumsy, I'm like, I don't know, it's not drunk. He's like...
No, it isn't.
He's just, like, too tall. Too big for... I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
He's, like, super tall.
Yeah, you know, just kind of very...
Like, long.
Yeah,
funky.
gangly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, most of us know where to put our hands. He's the type that he would go to
Doesn't.
do something and it would just be like, you know, whack.
Yeah, exactly. Like, might sound dumb, but, like, you know, ever since I moved this around, I see the, like, flashes of lights a lot in this corner, and it seems to me like he's hitting his head over there.
Probably is.
Because well, I mean, I took away that line and
Yeah.
basically told him, like, look, you can be here, but we'll be roommates. Like,
Yeah.
so, I don't know.
And like I said, you can feel the difference in the energy so you know that it's working.
Yeah.
You
There's
really
days, I have days where it's not good, but it's not.
You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, so are they.
Yeah.
You know, so are they. Don't ever, they have personalities too, so
Yeah.
there are going to be days that you're going to wake up and they're going to be like, okay, bad day for me.
Yeah.
And those are the days you're probably going to hear him hitting his head,
Yeah.
you know. Because it feels like sometimes he just hangs out here and he's very comfortable.
Yeah.
But then the days that he's more agitated, he's, you know, walking around.
Definitely.
I said to the kids.